I really like jasmine. It blooms in Australia right at the end of the year, like a sign of the year wrapping up. Everything else is coming to an end, and here's the jasmine reminding us of new, beautiful beginnings just around the corner. Despite the jasmine, we are at the end. As the 60th specials conclude, a brand new exciting era enters. There is a lot to love about the Giggle. It might be my favourite of the 3 specials. While I don't think it's a perfect episode of television, that's not to say it wasn't amazing. Every scene and aspect of the Giggle is alive with such human effort. There's a commitment to utilising practical effects as well as the skills of our multi-talented performers. In this video, I want to show you all of the life poured into the elements of the Giggle. Oh man. In particular, I found the pacing and focus to be outstanding, especially when compared to the Star Beast that had to do some heavy lifting of reintroducing audiences to the Hooniverse. Or Wild Blue Yonder, which aimed to build up suspense and atmosphere with a gripping mystery. The Giggle gave us a classic Doctor vs villain showdown, with returning villain nearly 60 years later, the Toymaker, played by Neil Patrick Harris. And what a delight, truly a highlight, a high delight. Neil Patrick Harris is doing like 5 different accents, some of them purposefully exaggerated. Juggling, monologuing, dancing, oh, we're gonna talk about the dancing. Card tricks, puppeteering, he even folds himself like a piece of paper by the end. Okay, maybe that last one had some computer trickery assistance, but if you told me that was a skill that Neil Patrick Harris could just do, I might believe you. The Giggle is a packed episode. I have no doubt this video is going to run longer than usual. With all of this in mind, leave a like, maybe even consider subscribing. I'm sure I've got many more videos on the way.
Don't forget to click below to subscribe.
In this video, I am going to break down the Giggle, ending with a discussion of the 3 60th anniversary specials overall. Chibnall may even get a mention. And then we'll, get ready for the Christmas Goblin special. Television plays a pretty large role in the subtext of this week's episode, though as you'll come to see, RTD isn't really being subtle with his subtext, it's more just... what's the opposite of subtext? Domtext? Surface text! Quite fittingly, our cold open is the literal discovery of the televisual format. This sequence begins with a shot of a rainy street, then a gentleman entering a shop full of beautifully crafted toys and games. It makes for quite the set. It's warm with a nice use of colour, like reds and browns, that gives it this feel of innocent circus joy. We get the introduction of Stooky Bill, the puppet, and his family, which will be important later. Stooky Bill is to be recorded on one of the first television systems ever. But let's be real, all I want to talk about is the Toymaker, and he masterfully is used to remove any warmth or joy. The exaggerated German accent and words that are so clearly false. The way Harris plays this character, that regular conversations feel like they're beneath this godlike being, the Toymaker. That reality is a game for him is perfect. The way he sneaks in that sly, racist dig in a perfect English accent.
You must be used to sunnier climes.
Before the titular Giggle closes out the scene. Which, may I just say, what a perfect Giggle. You promised us a Giggle, it's good to know you delivered the goods. We get the Giggle twice in the Toymaker's shop, and once more pre-credits with this low quality recorded image of Stooky, the head melting from the lights, and the giggle for a third time echoing, creating quite the unsettling feeling. As we transition to the opening credits, and then present day chaos. It's no mistake that we start with the invention of television and pretty much cut to a present day riot in the streets where everyone thinks they're right all the time. RTD isn't being subtle here. Funnily enough, it's a topic where I don't think subtlety would work. If the comment sections of the Starbeast videos are anything to go on, you'll know these people aren't especially good at picking up on subtext or nuance. God forbid they ever change their minds. No, they're too busy whining about something they apparently don't care about. But, you know, the vaccine is a hoax, trans people don't exist, and Doctor Who has never had progressive politics. RTD is clearly playing with themes about how television, media, and the internet can and has been a tool to manipulate people's emotions into supporting rigid conservatism. It's why I think shows like Doctor Who that promote what should be fundamental human beliefs and attitudes in a manner that is entertaining and accessible to a wide audience is important. Hopefully at this point, any of the sad who are sitting there waiting to comment will have pissed off by this point and I can move on and stop editorializing. Regardless, this entire riot scene is wonderful. There's so much going on everywhere. This is clearly shot on a real street with heaps of extras. The way the camera shifts focus off of Tennant to the background introduction of Harris, waltzing away, moments later they bump into each other, the Toymaker back with a French accent, a new suit, heading into a quick taunt and dance with the Doctor, while people are going nuts in the background. It's all fantastic. Units suddenly show up to escort the Doctor to safety as he slowly realizes what's going on, spotting the Toymaker amongst the crowd. I love the heat waves from the fire distorting this shot, accompanied by Murray Gold's score, which has this off-putting children's choir. In fact, all episode, Murray Gold is absolutely cooking with some awesome pieces of music. Long gone are the days of Doctor Who cheesily faking populated streets or big set pieces. Now, a riot in the streets looks like a real riot in the streets. Flying over burning London in helicopters looks just like that. The seams of what is practical or computer generated are very well hidden, especially as we arrive at Unit Exposition. If I was to point to one sequence as the weakest aspect of the Giggle, it'd be this 10-minute plus exposition dump. It's not bad, there's plenty to like, but compared to the pace of the rest of the episode, it stands out as a way to quickly resolve the controlling the human race part of the conflict. By the end of this sequence, the whole episode shifts towards a showdown between the Doctor and Toymaker, and this is for the better. It's more tangible stakes than the entirety of Earth, and something more emotionally poignant. Anyhow, we have a shiny new Unit HQ set, and it's really good. I suspect we'll get plenty of use from it in the coming years of the Whoniverse. Additionally, we get to meet the Flinks! I love the practical look. I'm guessing there's a human inside the costume. The Flinks is kind of just here. No fanfare or explanation, and it works. It makes sense Unit would have access to a supercomputer robot. We don't need to linger on it. I think a worse showrunner would feel the need to explain or draw great attention to this robot. However, in this new era of Who, we can have nice details that aren't imperative to the ongoing plot. Coming quickly back to RDT's not-so-subtle themes, we get the VDEX bands which block the effect that's taken hold of the human race. It's an obvious analogy to vaccines. We get a little jab at the whole vaccine hesitancy of COVID-19. Ha he ha 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 ha, isn't the human race great? Plus the return of Trinity Wells, now an Alex Jones InfoWars-like figure. That's kind of becoming a modern convention, isn't it? Just like J. Jonah Jameson in Spider-Man. This is all fine window dressing to the conflict of the episode, and I think once we get to see the actual effects of the Giggle on Kate Stewart, in which Gemma Redgrave is able to properly showcase her range as a performer, something that's been sorely missed over the Chibnall years. It works to key the audience and Doctor into just how malicious the Toymaker's Giggle is. I especially enjoyed the scene where Shirley gets told off by the Doctor.
If there were secret pictures inside every television, we would have found it.
What, because you're so clever? Maybe Stooky Bill's a lot smarter than you.
Shirley came off as a little obnoxious in the Star Beast, and the same here. I wasn't sure if it was just strange line delivery or if there was a point. Now this confirms that it is in fact characterization, because unlike Chibnall's era, Shirley is written to be a real human with real human faults, like occasionally being obnoxious. This is further demonstrated by later in the episode when Shirley, who is a scientist, questions the Doctor's unobjective explanation of the Toymaker and gets this frustrated look from the Doc. Tennant delivers an on-the-nose speech about humanity's worst attributes and how hate is hardly even hiding beneath the surface of humanity anymore. Yes, it's pretty much Davies doing a little bit of preaching, but hey, we know any subtlety will easily be missed, and this pretty much wraps up this whole subtext moving forward. We are a third into the episode, and almost all of the major themes and ideas introduced early on just don't meaningfully come back. Now, I much prefer what the final two-thirds explore with the Toymaker and the Doctor's own personal trauma and history. However, this is an issue. There's a clear disconnect between the premise and where the episode eventually ends up. This hardly ruins the episode, but for me, it's problems like this that stop the Giggle from entering masterpiece territory. Furthermore, the eventual resolution of the episode is another element that is lacking. Perhaps somehow bringing these themes of television back in the final act with a clever solution would have alleviated much of this problem. I'm not saying I'd know how to do that, but I'm just a humble reviewer critiquing an episode of television that I loved. As the episode shifts, let us shift towards our other major theme. This idea of the 14th Doctor's trauma has been in the background of these 60th specials, especially last week's episode. This idea first appears in the Giggle with returning classic companion Mel Bush. She explains how she travelled the stars, eventually returning to Earth and finding herself lost with nothing here for her. However, she was able to find purpose in real life, eventually settling down and getting a job at UNIT. The Doctor and Donna travel back to the beginnings of television, and Donna questions the fact the Doctor never stops and rests, that he's wearing himself out.
And it's like you're staggering. You are staggering along. Maybe that's why your old face came back. You're wearing yourself out.
Just a few scenes later, we'll watch Tennant break down. That cocky confidence stripped away, the Doctor left questioning his own place in the universe.
Oh, Sonic and TARDIS and Time Lord, take that away. Take away the toys. What am I? What am I now?
Tennant has always done an incredible job portraying the Doctor's sadder, more emotional side, and here it especially works. Donna, his best friend, as usual is here to comfort him and with some well-placed words to get the Doctor back in action.
Maybe I'll save you.
This has been an especially rough 15 hours of this new regeneration, even more so after the events of Power of the Doctor. Maybe it is time for the Doctor to rest, as we'll see by the end of the episode. It feels like we haven't discussed the Toymaker in a little while. Let's get to that. Arriving at the Toymaker's shop with Murray Gold's whimsical score, building up suspense as the tempo gets faster and faster, I really love this first proper meeting between these two. There's energy and zest to a scene that could just have easily been the Doctor walks into a shop and confronts villain. Instead, the Doctor runs up to the window and we get this fantastic perspective shot where the Toymaker keeps annoyingly moving out of the Doctor's line of sight. He rushes into the shop, and throughout this confrontation, Harris is juggling while performing a villain monologue and throwing the occasional ball at Tennant to unnerve him. This is what filmmaking is about. Elevating what could be just a standard scene into something more. Furthermore, the idea of catch and balls will be significant when we reach the resolution of the conflict. This is establishing this idea earlier in the story for the audience. Let's not forget our performers either. Harris is given this perfect level of taunting, with his words having this flippant feeling. Meanwhile, Tennant is dead serious, allowing the mavity of the situation to develop across his face. Our lead characters become split up down impossibly long corridors, and we head into some straight up puppet horror. Both sequences need to be commended for their mix of practical effects and computer generated assistance. The human-sized puppet with the real head is, disturbing. The real standout moment is when a giant Toymaker controls the strings, the puppet quite surreally turning into Tennant, sneering this off-kilter line.
I thought I was clever.
Donna's spooky time involves the return of the Stooky family, some twisted wordplay, some good old quick cuts to create a sense of action, with what are essentially motionless objects. I do think there's some nice characterization as to how each character deals with their spooky circumstance. The Doctor almost naively immediately wants to help, while Donna from the get-go sniffing out that it's probably a trick and ready to fight.
My name's Donna, and I warn you now, if this is a trick, I will kill you.
They find each other again and embrace with a hug. We get a nice simple camera trick of a cut hiding a massive location change, showing how the Toymaker kinda just does what he wants. Additionally, it disorientates our characters and the audience while getting the story quickly to the next set piece, which may just be my second favourite sequence of the episode. Continuing this theme that the Doctor maybe isn't doing okay, we get a marionette history lesson of the Doctor's trauma.
He met eine friend called Amy Pott, and he loved Amy Pott.
This is the kind of self-referential writing that I would criticize a bad Moffat script or superhero movies for. But here in the land of Davy's second era, there's a justified emotional reason for this. The entire scene is presented wonderfully. The harsh close-up and American accent shift of
Oh, well, that's all right then.
is perfect. There is no surprise that this has become a meme. It has endless possibilities for a new format. When I was watching this scene for the first time, I couldn't contain my joy at how funny but also ruthless the whole sequence is. Watching the Doctor try to justify the often grim outcomes of his companions. Not surprisingly, none of the fam, as in Graham, Ryan, Yaz or Dan, get a mention because, well, nothing of consequence ever happened to them. However, for the second week in a row, the flux gets referenced, and we see this as a particularly sore spot for this version of the Doctor. Also, this is a small thing, but the planets have the sound of bouncy balls.
Doctor, the flux.
I might be stretching here, but this to me is at least subconsciously building the significance of balls, priming the audience for what will be the resolution. The Toymaker and Doctor play a game of cards to which the Doctor loses. The highlight of this being Harris's card trick skills and the knowledge that he has trapped the Master in his golden tooth.
I sealed him for all eternity inside my gold tooth.
The Toymaker beckons the Doctor back to 2023 for their final game, and we get this cute moment where Donna is already up and running away from the collapsing stage.
I'm already running!
They travel back to Unit HQ, and we get what is my favourite sequence of the episode. When reviewing The Power of the Doctor, I stated that while I thought the Master's dance to Boney M was fun, I found it to overall be derivative and symptomatic to the major issues of that episode. To be clear, I will never criticize a villain dance and song when they are as creative and fun as this sequence. Now, I'm not saying that Morbius or Sonic should get a pass, but there's a reason that some of the most memorable moments from, say, Ex Machina, The Lion King, and Barbie involve a villain song and dance. Furthermore, here's a premise for a video that will never be: dance and music is an important aspect of film, and has been utilized to express some of the most emotional and creative moments in non-musical films. Jojo Rabbit, Guardians Volume 3, Aftersun, and any of Luca Guadagnino's films are just a few examples of films I love utilizing dance as a way to express emotions. If you've seen the final minutes of any of my 60th Specials reviews, then you know it's something close to my heart. All of this is to say that when I heard the Spice Girls Spice Up Your Life interrupting what was a fairly serious scene, I knew we were in for something special. Where do I even start? Man, the fact the whole sequence is coherent and the audience can keep track of what is going on as the Toymaker teleports in and out of shots. Now, I, as an audience member, know they are achieving the effect of his teleporting with simple cuts. Yet, the bell sound effect and fact the door gets added to the background make it more internally logical. There's even this one long shot in the middle where he appears at the other side of the room without any cuts. It's a whole lot of effort on display, and it's fun and justified. How about how the entire sequence has its own internal pacing? There are actions and consequences happening in this villain dance. Kate is taunted and forced into a dance that ends with her being brutally smashed against a wall, which, by the way, got an audible gasp. Due to this, she sends 2 soldiers to detain the Toymaker, which he turns into balls. There's this grimly humorous scene where Shirley catches a ball that screams and she throws it away. Once again, the idea of balls appears, priming the audience for the eventual resolution. The murder of these 2 soldiers leads Kate to order everyone to open fire on the Toymaker, who turns the bullets into rose petals that, when falling, must be CGI, yet are very clearly actually on the ground of the set in bulk. There's even this really funny reaction shot of the Vlinks almost sneakily hidden at the climax of the song. This sequence concludes and the Toymaker summons the Doctor for the final showdown, where we arrive at what will by far be the element most discussed online. If you managed to watch the episode and didn't know about this twist, then congrats. Unfortunately, I participate in Doctor Who discourse, and this leaked months ago. I was, however, interested to see how they would pull it off. After some back and forth with the Doctor attempting to talk down the Toymaker, Tennant's Doctor gets shot through the chest with a laser, as the Toymaker's ego runs rampant, wanting to experience a new face for his final game. We arrive at a familial moment of Tennant on the verge of tears, the music swelling, he's about to regenerate. When it stops, something is going on. Enter Ncuti Gatwa, the brand new 15th Doctor in a Bye-Regeneration where both versions of the Doctor continue to exist. Okay, firstly let's discuss the execution. This shot here is brilliant. Watching the behind the scenes, it's a perfectly controlled camera movement shot twice with Tennant and Gatwa. The two scenes stitched together with some CGI regeneration effects to hide the seams. It's cinematic and tastefully executed. The idea is an effective way to have a multi-Doctor story without the whole episode becoming devoted to it. It plays both into the plot and story of the episode, and is an exciting, unexpected way to introduce Gatwa's Doctor. While I wish we got a definite explanation for
What the hell is going on here?
there's some information we can infer. I think RTD purposefully kept it mildly vague so as to not limit the story down the line, which is okay. How it's handled in this episode is perfectly reasonable. Not everything needs an exact explanation immediately. However, to be direct, this cannot be left unexplained. RTD should not wrap up as showrunner before we get an explanation for what this means. I roasted Chibnall for this exact thing. The difference here is that I do think we will get a meaningful answer down the line. Nevertheless, since all the internet cares about currently is rampant speculation, let's speculate. For my money, there's currently two reasonable explanations for this. The first and most likely is that somewhere in the future, once Tennant's Doctor has dealt with his trauma, he will begin to regenerate and be zapped back in his timeline, appearing as Ncuti during the Giggle. As they later say in the episode, they're doing rehab out of order.
I'm fine because you fixed yourself. We're Time Lords, we're doing rehab out of order.
And that Gatwa's Doctor is older than Tennant's.
You're the old man. You're older than me.
Actually, that is true. He's younger because you came after him, so you're the older Doctor.
This could further be explained by the TARDIS being duplicated. Gatwa's TARDIS being a future variation with a jukebox and accessibility ramp. But it could also just be that the TARDIS redecorated. Secondly, Tennant's variant of the Doctor becomes the eventual curator, retiring to the art gallery as seen in the 50th anniversary special. This leaves room for other faces to reappear for multi-Doctor stories and wraps everything up nicely with where this variation of Tennant ends up this episode. Or it's entirely possible there's another creative explanation we get in the upcoming seasons. Who knows? As long as we eventually get one. At the very least, I think it's fair to say this leaves a backdoor for Tennant to come back in future episodes. Which, I mean, who doesn't love the idea of that? Here we have the resolution of the conflict, starting with the two Doctors, which I think is a good twist. I like the way they both say,
I challenge you to a game.
and continue each other's sentences. It also fits the Toymaker's own internal logic and rules that he's shot himself in the foot having to verse two Doctors at once. However, and this is perhaps my second main issue with the episode, playing catch to defeat the Toymaker just isn't that clever of a solution. I don't think it's bad, but there isn't any twist to the game. They quite simply beat the Toymaker at catch. Hang on, let me defend this creative decision here. I think the game of catch is different and presented creatively, which is more than we get from a third act CGI superhero punch-up, or a lightsaber fight, or a gun battle, or insert franchise and relevant action scene. All three of our performers are quite physical, thus seeing them jump around and pose is great fun. Furthermore, the writing has set up bulls and catch as an idea throughout the story. I've pointed this out as we've gone along, and this makes the resolution that much more comprehensible to the audience. You may not have noticed the bulls were subtly throughout the story, but your brain did.
Some so subtle you might not have even noticed, but your brain did.
I love that Red Letter Media quote so much. It's kind of funny in like an ironic way, but also works for the analysis point I'm trying to make. Catch to save the universe may not be the best aspect of this episode, however, it is understandable. Having defeated the Toymaker, we see Tennant's Doctor wallowing in the lives lost. It's fitting to the characterization of previous Doctors, and specifically the 14th Doctor, who has shown that sadder side. Gatwa's Doctor holds him and tells him it's okay, he's going to be okay. It's really sweet.
I've got you. Yeah? It's okay.
I have to mention this one detail as they walk away. We see the Toymaker's golden tooth that has the Master trapped for the third time, and we hear the laughter of different variations of the Master over the years. We even get a direct homage to the Series 3 finale tease. But now we get to the point. The what was it all for, these 60th specials. The Giggle in many ways acts as a finale, or conclusion to the modern 2005 reboot of Doctor Who. Even more so considering that the next season is going to be labelled Series 1. It's the end of the beginning. Modern Who has been a rollercoaster ride I've been on for a long time. Now we head into a brand new exhilarating era of contemporary Who, of annual seasons, of spin-offs, of Disney, of books, of games, of who knows what. Doctor Who is a property that has endless potential. It is a rare case of something that should be a franchise, that mostly hasn't been. We see Ncuti's Doctor rocketing off to his brand new theme, brilliantly scored by Murray Gold. I love the delivery of this line here.
Okay, kid. I love you. Get out.
And that final salute as he says goodbye to an era. A massive grin on his face, the universe not ready for what's to come. I'm not gonna lie, as Tennant's Doctor teared up as he was told it's time to stop the thing he loves, to let go, to embrace real life and settle down. It hit a little too close to home. I mean, come on, what am I doing here?
He flies off.
However, the following noble family meal was incredibly delightful. Seeing this version of the Doctor finally get a happy ending, the classic down-to-earth appreciation that RTD never fails to lose in his writing. If I was to find some grand statement about my time reviewing Doctor Who, I would sum it up in one word. Understand. It was inevitable that I couldn't help myself but talk about Chibnall. But you see, I'm reluctantly a Chibnall era scholar. I've seen most of Chibnall's episodes multiple times, reviewed Series 12 onwards. I did full-blown breakdowns of Chibnall's specials, Eve of the Daleks, the Sea Devils, the Power of the Doctor. I know my shit. I've done my goddamn time in the trenches. This is to say there are elements of Chibnall's era that are comparable to these 60th specials. They both have camp and cheese, the plots aren't any less ridiculous, some of the emotional beats even parallel. Yet, when I think about almost any decision made during Chibnall's era, I have to wonder, why? There are so many absolutely baffling decisions, and on a foundational level, the Chibnall era is poor. When I think about the 60th specials, the characters are understandable, the creative decisions are understandable, the stories on a fundamental level are understandable. With these foundations, they can elevate the material with execution and pizzazz. These episodes aren't masterpieces. The Star Beast has way too much going on. Wild Blue Yonder has at times subpar CGI. The Giggle gets lost in all its magnificence, failing to satisfyingly wrap up its many loose threads, subtext and themes. However, these specials are full of life, full of love, and full of understandable decisions. This is what makes amazing art. There is consideration and humanity beaten through every element of these television episodes. This has been a highlight of my year, in a year that has been full of highlights. Succession, MGMT, Guardians, Oppenheimer. It's been good. It's just put up the, the chapter text, play the song, play the, To be clear, I am done. Even as Doctor Who becomes an incredibly exciting prospect to review. Now, you will see me a couple more times. There's a few bigger projects that are fully filmed and mid-edit. I've teased them in previous videos, I'll finish them off and they'll drop when ready. But I won't be back at Christmas, even with my love of goblins. Chronologically, this is the end. This is as far as we go, forever. I want to quickly mention H Bomber Guy here, who's obviously a huge inspiration. His recent video was fantastic and well worth a watch. I mean, statistically, you've probably seen it. H Bomber Guy had quite an emotionally poignant conclusion about creativity and commodification, about what behaviors get rewarded on this platform, and what people are willing to do for success. I have spent 7 years making videos. 4 of those years making distinct productions, as in lights, cameras, scripts. That's more than a quarter of my life at this point. I think it's over. I think if tangible success was coming my way, it would have already. And it's not just about success, it hardly ever was. All the things I most care about, art, science, love. People don't pursue those for money or power. They do it because of a profound urge to create. To be something greater than themselves, even if just for a fleeting instant. And it's not easy, not at all. Writing creativity is exhausting. I have danced and we've had the best of times. And you know what? I was good at it. Now I take a final bow. Another version of me stumbles off out of frame. But all of this, who I am, who I was, is left behind. It just becomes flickering moments of a neon-coloured dream I once had.
Things end. That's all. Everything ends. And it's always sad. But everything begins again too. And that's always happy. Be happy.